Good morning, YouTube. It's Auston Holleman on a Saturday morning, and I'm fully dressed, about to go back to the coffee shop and do a little work for maybe 5 or 6 hours for you guys to bring you better content. Today I want to talk about a topic that is very true in my opinion about dating ages overseas versus United States. And I want to make a statement that for all the dudes that want younger women, let's say if you're 35 and you want a 21-year-old, dating a 21-year-old in another country, a second or third world country, is not going to be the same as dating a 21-year-old in the United States. The reason I say that is because the US citizens grow up very slow. Not myself, because I went through things that forced me to grow up a lot faster. I didn't have this harsh life. I wasn't a kid in Syria that saw bombs and tanks outside. I'm gonna say I was privileged to have a little more hardship in life that caused me to grow up in the experience that I noticed that a lot of Americans don't have. And Americans worldwide are like the Highland Park or the Beverly Hills kids of the world. We're like the rich kids that have life pretty much on easy mode. How do Americans have life on easy mode? The stuff that we complain about is bull. Okay, if you are let me say this. If you were born in the United States and you lived your entire life in the United States, you've never seen a war. You've never seen an invasion of your home country. You've never walked outside and seen tanks. You've never walked outside and seen soldiers women. You've never seen none of that, okay? And I'm not saying that can't happen in a there's nobody with a tank in your neighborhood, but I'm not saying that can't happen by growing up in a bad neighborhood, but you haven't seen a tank, you haven't seen artillery shells, that kind of stuff. So right off the back, when it comes to a violence aspect, you're privileged. Mass shootings don't compare to ISIS being in your country. That's not even up for discussion, dude. Second, you have government assistance, meaning that we, as Americans, we have a safety net to fall back on, which gives us less responsibility. Less responsibility creates more immaturity. For example, the kids that usually get kicked out of the house at 18 years old and their parents tell them to go find a job and fend for themselves, those people grow up fast because you have to. It's either you grow up fast and you do that, or you go live on the street. And that's because you have more responsibility. That's what I did to myself. I got out of my mom's house, went to college, and then I realized I didn't want to be in college after a year, and I dropped out and I stayed at my dad's house for 6 months, and I worked as a barber until I kept putting responsibility on myself. Okay, now let me get my own apartment. Now let me get my own car note. Let me pay all my bills. I don't want to be connected to my parents at all financially. I don't want to need them for anything unless if it's for my birth certificate. So, me putting that responsibility on myself, I had to put myself around older people. I had to behave I had to grow up. I could not sit around and listen to rap songs and talk about shooting and killing people around dudes in their 40s while I was cutting their hair. That'd run them off. So anyway, being overseas, a lot of people, a lot of men and women are in situations like that where they grow up, like in Brazil's favelas are dangerous. They have Wi-Fi there, but they don't have air conditioning. They're growing up in harsher conditions, and that causes you to grow up a lot faster. And that's why I was always able to connect with older people, because not only did I put a lot of responsibility on myself, but I seen stuff growing up that made me grow thick skin, like domestic violence. And it wasn't happening to me, but in my family, I seen domestic violence. I seen my brother go to jail, somebody I really cared about. He's out now, but that kind of stuff makes you grow thick skin and makes you realize that this is a real world. I can't stand it when I run into 21-year-olds and they're still moving like the world is not real. That's why when I hear all this rap music about all this killing people, it pisses me off, because it's like, bro, first of all, 99% of y'all wouldn't do none of this. And second, you're promoting something that's really, really serious. All over the place. Let's get back to government assistance. The United States and other westernized countries are first world societies, meaning that they come with first world problems. People in those societies live life on easy mode. They have everything handed to them, and their country is a lot safer on average. These first world countries are some of the only countries that people can get online and get government representation on why they should identify as a potato chip, why they should identify as a tomato plant, why they should identify as a shark. And you think I'm exaggerating? I could not stand getting on the internet or on watching the news, and it's literally somebody that wants to I seen somebody want to identify as a wolf on YouTube one time. They literally have a leash around their neck and they're walking on all fours, apparently in the forest with real wolves. That's bullshit. I don't want to be in a society where we've become so safe that we're worried about the smallest dumb now, where we're just worried about stuff that's not even important. That's why I say when people have less, they're more genuine. Second world and third world countries, people have less, so they're more genuine and they're not tripping about a potato chip identification. People have real responsibilities. Most of them have hit hard times for a long time, and hard times generate thick skin and genuine people and tough people. This was once a thing in the United States before it got so safe and so modernized. The further you go back in time, the more mature people were. For example, people didn't live that long the further you go back in time. So it wasn't uncommon to see a 19-year-old with a family already. That causes you to grow up, to be able to provide for kids and a wife, which was what it was back then. There was no boss bitches. That caused you to grow up fast. Even in the 90s and 80s, when there was still huge gang problems, there was still a drug epidemic, there was still, racism was a little worse. It wasn't that long ago, so it hasn't changed that much, but it was a little worse than it is now. People were more mature. People had a lot more substance. It seems like the people in my age bracket are just idiots now with no substance. Not all of them, but a good majority of them are just stupid. That's why I've never really been able to hang around people my age. They are way too immature, way too worried about the dumbest things. Even whenever I was growing up and I saw Tupac and Biggie, they seemed a lot older than they were. I didn't know that they were only like 25 when they died. I don't think both of them were 25, but I didn't know that they were still in their 20s, mid-20s whenever they died. They came off a lot older because back in those days, people actually experienced stuff. Things were a lot different. The world was not a snowflake. And people love to say, oh, social media is not the problem of all this. It's being in a first world, modernized, westernized, safe society that's caused all this. Brazil, Philippines, Colombia, all those 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds act nothing like the 18, 19, 20-year-olds in the United States and somewhere like England. But all those countries have social media just like they do in the United States. So it's not social media that's changed it. It's the society you live in. And it does not help whenever you have a government that enables and promotes the BS. That's part of the reason why I left. Because the female problems that I would complain about are enabled by the government, okay? They are the immature, all that superficial stuff we got going on in the United States, all that drove me out. It wasn't just the women, just all that. You got to work 20 hours a day, you still don't get shit in return. It's just the United States is just for the miserable. Unless if you're, even the people way up top are still offing themselves. So we're not gonna make it seem like just because you make it up top, that is that means you don't have your game right. Even those people come up dead. If you ask me, as a US citizen, the way to be happy is to leverage your passport and move overseas, or at least spend the majority of your life overseas, or just travel, get exposed to what the rest of the world lives like. So why do I say all this? Well, I basically say all this to say that my generation is I don't think there's no saving my generation unless if they listen to my message and try to do what I'm doing. But for guys that feel like age matters, certain age does not translate the same certain way. We're not gonna get into the whole post-wall women. I don't even want to see those comments. But a post-wall woman in another country is not the same as a post-wall woman in the United States. An 18-year-old that you guys love is not the same as it is outside of the United States. I hate 18-year-olds in the United States. They are way too immature. But when I went outside the United States, 18 and 19, sometimes I'd be talking to them and I would ask them how old they were, and I didn't even realize, I could actually talk to this person. They're actually mature for 18, 19. But you guys, give me your thoughts and comments below on what you think on this topic. This is not an old versus young debate again. I just wanted to say this and bring that idea to you guys that have not traveled yet, that it does not translate the same overseas. Everybody is a lot more mature overseas. Yes, you have a few bad apples here and there, but for the majority, they are different. They grow up in harsher conditions. Everything is going to be better on a social aspect because of that, because they are more genuine people. Give this video a like, share this video with somebody you feel like is immature, leave a comment, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. If you really support that content, my Cash App is $Auston Holleman, PayPal austonholleman@gmail.com. I want to say thank you to everybody that has donated. I'm really appreciating that I have several people donating. $20 to my Cash App is a famous number as of yesterday. Just about every hour people are donating, so I really appreciate that. You guys are funding the travels and you're funding more content. You're funding a better movement for happiness for men around the United States, because it's that bad.